Welcome back to Women in Westminster with me, Eleni Barrett. Today I'm speaking with Lucy Rigby, the Labour MP for Northampton North. With a strong background as a solicitor specialising in competition law, Lucy has long been a passionate advocate for consumer rights and social justice. Before stepping into Parliament, she made significant contributions at top law firms and organisations such as Law to Remain. Now as an MP, Lucy is dedicated to addressing the pressing issues in her constituency and bringing positive change to her community. And it's great to be able to speak with you today, Lucy.
Hi, Eleni. It's great to be talking to you. So thanks very much for having me on.
Firstly, you've had a successful career as a competition lawyer before becoming an MP. What made you decide to leave law and enter politics full time? Was there a specific moment that sparked the shift?
So I think the honest answer, Eleni, is that I have been interested in politics since I was a little girl.
Right.
Since I was old enough to understand a little bit about how the world works. And even before I fully understood how the world works, I was still interested and interested to learn more. I um, I think my mum in particular, my dad as well, my mum in particular, encouraged us to question things about the world around us, not just to accept things necessarily about the way that the world is. And I think that was a pretty healthy kind of environment to grow up in, to be honest. So where there were what I perceive to be unfairnesses or injustices, um, I think my mum encouraged us, and I'm one of three girls, all of us, to have a view on those things and to speak out about them and not be concerned about exercising that view. So that was behind the reason that I trained as a solicitor. And as you said in your introduction, I've been involved in a number of causes and cases along the way that have been to do with social justice and access to justice. And then in terms of sort of becoming an MP after that, I mean, most directly, that's because my community in Northampton elected me, which I was obviously still extremely pleased and proud about. But on a sort of wider scale, I think that, as I said, always been interested in politics, and there's not actually, I mean, there are sort of clear practical differences, but I think if you're interested in the law, which if you're interested in politics, it sort of naturally follows that you'd be interested in law. So as a solicitor, I was practicing law, and then in Parliament, you're making law, you're scrutinising law and making it. So I think there's actually an awful lot of crossover, and I think there are plenty of transferable skills as well.
100%. But at what point did you join the Labour Party? At what point did you decide you needed to be party political in order to enact change?
Yeah, so I'm going to show my age now, Eleni, and tell you that I've been a member of the Labour Party for nearly 20 years.
Wow.
I think it is, maybe just under. And that stems from my interest and belief in just fairness, is that simple concept. So making our town and indeed the country a more fair and a more just place to live and work.
What were some of the key challenges you faced on your journey to becoming an MP, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think as much as anything else, it's about trying to balance involvement in political things alongside very real world and practical challenges. So I have a family. I have two children. I've had at various stages in my career, my job has been quite demanding, so I've had to work quite long hours, and I've been involved in other things outside of paid work. So I've given pro bono legal advice at law centres and been involved in the running of law centres, and plenty of other sort of charitable causes along the way as well. But balancing family and work, and then involvement in political causes, party political causes as well. That's been the main challenge, is balancing all of those things. That's the same for people not involved in politics, right? I mean, I'm very conscious of that. I speak to so many people here in Northampton who will talk to me about balancing everything that they need to do. You know, some people are working kind of 3 jobs at the moment, trying to make ends meet and look after relatives and make sure their kids are okay. That balancing act is very much, I come across a lot of people who talk to me about that.
You've accomplished a great deal in both law and politics. So what are your long-term goals now as an MP?
Yeah, that is, well, thanks, first of all, for saying that I've achieved a lot. That's very kind of you. Long-term goals as a Member of Parliament, I want to be able to say and believe, hand on heart, as and when I stop being Member of Parliament for Northampton North, that I have played a part in making life for the people in my constituency better, which sounds like a kind of generalised overall aim, but let me break that down. I want people to feel better off. I want people to have more money in their bank account. I want work to pay. I want people to be able to buy enough food to feed their children and not have to rely on food banks. I want public services to be good enough to enable people to live their lives. So I think that you should be able to get a GP's appointment when you need one. When your member of your family needs an operation, they should be able to get that operation. We should have people feeling like they live in a safe town and a safe country. So we need adequate levels of neighbourhood policing and returning law and order to a much more healthy place. You know, if you're the victim of a crime, then you deserve justice. So the crime needs to be investigated properly by the police. The police are, you know, extremely stretched at the moment, as indeed all public services are. So there are a whole host of ways in which I want to be able to say, as a long-term aim, that I have improved the lives of people here in Northampton North.
And what are your, leading on from that, what are your key priorities for the future of your constituency, and how do you plan to achieve them?
Well, look, public services, as I've just been talking about, is a huge part of it. So, and you saw some of this in the budget from the Chancellor of the Exchequer earlier this week. We desperately need to get our NHS back to health. So in our manifesto, the Prime Minister was talking about 40,000 more elective appointments in the NHS every single week. You saw the Chancellor, as part of the budget, delivering the funding for those 40,000 more appointments. That's incredibly important. The NHS waiting list at the moment is at 7.6 million people.
Wow.
And I lost count during the general election campaign and the period prior. I lost count of the number of people who said to me, you know, again, just think about it now. There was a grandmother I was talking to in Abington who said to me she'd had an operation cancelled 3 times. You know, plenty of people in Northampton are living with health conditions that they can't get the treatment for at the moment because the NHS waiting list stands at 7.6 million. So we've absolutely got to sort that out. I mentioned policing. That's critical as well. I think we need to return to neighbourhood policing. I think we need more officers. I think we need a police force which is better funded so that people feel safe. You know, we can crack down on antisocial behaviour. So look, public services is a big part of what I want to be able to deliver for people in Northampton North. Another aspect to it, though, Eleni, is about our local economy. Because lots of people here in Northampton will talk to you about the decline of the town centre, how it used to be more bustling, it used to be more vibrant. We had bigger and different types of shops. They sort of, you know, all sorts of aspects to that. And I am absolutely determined to grow our local economy and to work with local businesses, small, big, micro businesses, to bring back that sense of greater vibrancy to our town centre. That's really, really important to me. So those 2 big kind of overarching things, public services and the local economy. But then within that, there are some particular issues that people have talked to me about over the years, and that I care very passionately about. So, for example, we have a crisis at the moment in SEND provision, and local families are really suffering as a result of that. We also have levels of violence against women and girls, which are far, far, far too high. Unfortunately, Northampton is one of those places that doesn't, obviously it's a national crisis, but Northampton, when you look at the league tables, does very badly in that regard. And that I find that I find those league tables painful to look at. So that's something that I'm absolutely determined to try and deal with. And I've got a meeting later on today actually with the CEO of a rape crisis charity. I've been talking to lots of different parties and partners, including, of course, our Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner, Danielle Stone, about how we can really build on the national work that's going on in this area and try and ensure that we get a really, really good reduction of violence against women and girls here in Northampton.
Well, I hope that meeting later today goes well. Listeners, join us for part 2 to hear more about Lucy's journey, the most challenging piece of legislation she's worked on, and what she does after a long day at work.